Hello and welcome to our first episode of Coscast. Today I have Alex and Nick with me. I'm William, WhiteFangCosplay.
I'm Alex, StrictlyCosplay.
And on the
and
phone...
I'm Nick. Oh no, sorry.
Okay. On the phone with us because of weather-related stuff, we have...
Nick, also known as Sinnika.
Awesome. So, real quick, since this is our first episode, I thought we'd briefly talk about our cosplay origins and how long we've been cosplaying, what we like to cosplay, just so you get to know us just a little bit more than just cosplayers. So, I'm WhiteFangCosplay. I've been cosplaying for almost 3 years now, 2.5 years. This summer it'll be 3 years. I started cosplaying as the 10th Doctor from Doctor Who because I thought that was cool. And that's what got me into cosplay because I didn't think costuming was cool, but I thought the Doctor was cool. So it was actually the act of like becoming characters that you love is what really grabbed me by cosplay. And what kept me in cosplay was the community. And it's been absolutely wonderful. I cosplay things from anime, like SAO, No Game No Life, K, but then also like video game stuff like Fire Emblem. So yeah, that's really a brief history. What about you, Alex?
So Alex, my name is StrictlyCosplay also. I've been cosplaying for, it's going to be officially 2 years in July, I want to say. That's when Boston Comic Con happened, 2016, I want to say. I went to one con before, I went to Boston Comic Con 2 years before that, but I didn't do any cosplay. And I went there and I was like, oh my goodness, there's so many characters that I absolutely love.
Yeah.
What is this? I walk straight through the door and there's Kirito and Asuna from Sword Art Online. And I was like, I didn't know that it was such a big deal. And I had no idea. So then, Boston Comic Con 2016 came around, and basically, I felt like, you know what, I might as well dress up. It'd be fun. My other friends are doing it, so I might do it too. So I basically gathered together a bunch of stuff to make my cosplay. It was basically me borrowing a lot of stuff from my friend. So I cosplayed Deathstroke from DC Comics. And turns out that was quite a big hit, even though my cosplay wasn't that great. But it was absolutely amazing to me, the reaction to it. And then I've been cosplaying ever since, basically. Been going to a lot more cons, mostly focusing on armor builds, that sort of, the characters who have a lot of armor.
Right.
So basically working with foam or whatever.
Yeah, you do love your armor builds.
I do. I have a love/hate relationship with them.
All right, what about you, Nick?
Okay, so I've done it probably a lot longer. I started back in 2012, not as long as some people, but back then. And so probably about 4 or 5 years, I guess, I've been cosplaying. But of course, in the beginning, I just kind of did it for fun. My first cosplay was a closet cosplay. I just kind of bought a white dress and a pink wig. I was Luca Migurene from Vocaloid. It stands out to me because everybody thought I was somebody else, which is kind of like what you never want to happen when you're cosplaying. But it did. But it was okay. It was still fun because it really just skyrocketed after I threw together my first one. I looked online, and it's funny you mentioned Kirito because that was around the same time SAO came out.
Yeah.
I was really obsessed, so I had to do Asuna, and I did more Vocaloid, and then it kind of just kept exploding, and I kept doing more, and I started doing armor. I think the first armor build I did was in 2016 Otakon. I'm pretty sure 2016 Otakon, and then since then I've just been doing armor every year. So
Nice.
I pretty much just gradually wanted to challenge myself more, but I also still love buying cosplays because I think that's a fun dynamic, to work really hard on something but then just really enjoy it and buy it when it's a lot cheaper. Cosplay can get expensive, kids.
Yeah, just because you make it doesn't make it cheaper.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I know, yeah. No, I think that's a big misconception, that making cosplays can be cheaper. They can, but they can also be really expensive if you want to dive in and make armor.
Yeah.
That's the big money.
Well, also, you spend so much time making a cosplay that you only have a certain amount of cosplays and you want to do more than just a couple at a con. So you want to have a variety, which is why I do like to buy some of my cosplays. Like just light ones. I do like Luigi, or I do a My Hero Academia gym uniform, which literally goes with anything as long as you have a wig. Then you're like any of the characters, basically. Yeah, and plus certain things like that. I mean, you could, if you want to perfect it, you could probably spend more in like the fabric costs, getting like the perfect fabric and the perfect color. You'd probably spend more money trying to find it and more time trying to make it than, sadly, you could just buy it online. Yeah, and that's what I'm thinking mostly is like just time-wise, you want to have something that is easy and simple. And honestly, I like to have a cosplay that I can just be relaxed in, because the armor cosplays are very uncomfortable a lot of the time. Very uncomfortable. People also don't realize that. We're just too happy to show the pain through our face. We're gritting our teeth. We're not smiling. Or deal with it all the time. Yeah. But and then I did the thing where I started out, I didn't buy cosplays, but I modified clothing. So like I didn't like sew a bunch of stuff, but I was like, hey, these like buttons need to be changed, or like this thing needs to be a different color, so I like dye clothes, you know, just like simple stuff like that. And I felt like that was pretty easy too, with a pretty high level of satisfaction as well. So yeah, I don't think I've actually ever altered clothing. Really? I've either for my costumes, I mean, I've altered like bought cosplays, so taken them in or maybe like fixed up something, but I've never bought clothing from like, you know, Goodwill or somewhere else and like repurposed it. I've just never found that easy. Really? So I just usually make it or I buy it. I do a lot of shopping on Amazon, because that's how I usually find like the biggest catalog of doing like Goodwill can be good, but I'm like too picky for that. So yes, too picky. Yeah. That's me. That's also a real trap in cosplay, is being too picky and not being able to settle on anything but perfection. That will break you eventually. That will break, yes. So yeah, that does it for our introductions. And there's one more introduction I would like to make, which is our sponsor for this episode, being Hero Hair. And we thank you very much for making this possible. You can check them out using the hashtag #CrownYourCosplay and see what they're doing in the community. And we'll be talking about them more later in the episode. Cool. All set. There we go. Sorry about that. There we go. It's okay. I was just doing an introduction to our sponsor, so nothing big. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, now with that taken care of, let's quickly talk about the cons that are coming up. The cons that I'm mentioning are just the ones that I'm familiar with in my space, and people that I know are going to. So there's far more conventions out there coming up in March. In fact, go to cosplayconventioncenter.com if you want a full list of all the conventions that's happening in the country. That's what I use to write all the things down. It's super useful and stuff. So coming up this weekend, we have Genericon in Troy, New York. I'll be going to that. That's on the 2nd through the 4th. We also have a smaller con. We have a couple smaller cons. We have Northeast Comic Con Spring. That's in Boxborough, Massachusetts, and that's going on from the 3rd and 4th. Queen City Kamikaze, which is in Manchester, New Hampshire. That's just on the 17th. And then we got some bigger cons at the end of the month. We have Awesome Con in Washington, D.C., and that takes place on the 30th through the 1st of April. And then Anime Boston in Boston, Massachusetts, the 30th through the 1st of the month. And I think all of us are going to Anime Boston. Yeah, I am. Yeah. So that'll definitely be... There's not a lot, so I'm going to Genericon. I know you're not. Yeah, I can't make it, unfortunately. Yeah. And Nick, I don't think you are either. No, I've never even heard of it, actually. No, it's I'm going because I have a friend that lives locally right there, and she tells me it's very similar to AAC. So that's nice. Small, but very friendly. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to check that out. Yeah, it's been a while since I've been to a new con, you know. The last few cons I've been to. No, maybe not. The Anime NYC. Yeah, that was a new one. Yeah, that was my last new one, which was really good, by the way. But yeah, so next one I'm going to do is Genericon, and then we're all going to Anime Boston. The next episode will almost definitely take place after Anime Boston, so you'll hear us talking about Anime Boston and Genericon next episode. Awesome.
Yeah, but let's talk about the big convention that we all went to just this past weekend, if it's that
I can't believe it's been a week.
I know,
Just
it's
one
been a week. Which is KatsuCon. And even though it's an anime convention, everybody knows it as like the cosplayer convention, really.
Mm-hmm.
There's no really regard for it being strictly cosplay. No pun intended.
Sure.
But just like any theme, it's just like just whatever, and like people bring their A game for that con.
Yeah, they also come in looking like memes.
Yeah,
Seriously, like we go
there's a
there.
lot of memes. Yeah,
Yeah, we saw Knuckles from Sonic the Hedgehog, and it was the whole meme of "Do you know the way?" And there was an entire group just going around the con,
That
just
made me
looking
so
for
happy.
the queen.
It's okay. Did you guys see the old lady gang? The
Yes. Oh my gosh. There was, I don't know if you saw them, Alex, but there was a bunch of these guys who were just cosplaying as old people, and then they would do this bit where they would like all bump into each other and be like, "Oh no!" and they all
Wow.
they had like a little skit. It was stupid, but it was really funny, to be honest.
It was great. I saw them all come out of the elevator, and it was hilarious.
That must have been so wild, just like waiting for the elevator and then just opening it up.
It was great. It was great.
So Nick, how many times have you been to KatsuCon?
This year was my third KatsuCon. That's funny. You say Katsu, I call it Katsu. I feel like everybody calls it something different, but oh well. But yes, my third time.
So that's pretty cool, because that means you've been 3 times. I've been 2 times.
Yes.
And this was your first time,
This was my
Alex.
first time,
So
yeah.
we've all
That's
been at
awesome.
different years. Nick, if I remember correctly, 3 years ago, KatsuCon had the, that was the year that the fire alarm thing happened.
Oh yeah, how was that?
Yep. It was pretty chilly. It was freezing.
Because they had to force everybody outside, right?
And it was pretty much, yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Saturday, and so the busiest busiest day of the con, and it was pretty much close to like what you'd call prime time, where most people hit the con floor.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, and it was funny because a lot of people thought it was fake or that it wasn't really a big issue. And I mean, still to this day, I'm not sure of the details, but I think it was like a fire alarm went off in the kitchen. So I think it might have either just maybe been smoke or like a small contained fire in the kitchen. But, they were actually telling people to leave their rooms because people didn't think it was legit. So they were just standing in their balcony rooms, looking out, wondering what was going on. And I mean, when I was with David, when we were there, I kind of didn't want to go outside because if any of you guys are familiar, or the listeners, I was cosplaying Bishamon from Noragami, so not a lot of clothing, and I did not want to go outside because it was like 9 degrees with like a wind chill of like something ridiculous.
At least it wasn't
But
hailing.
eventually everybody had to be outside, so you couldn't really hide unless you had a room and you weren't answering the door, so you had to leave. And they just literally just pushed you all outside. A lot of people went to the hotels across the street. A lot of people were just stuck outside. A lot of people went into the parking garage little area that's like indoors, which isn't heated either.
Yeah.
But it was...
Regardless of where you were,
crazy.
there was no heat.
Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, it wasn't too long, and I heard they were handing out blankets, trying to keep people warm. And I mean, I really feel like it was either like 2 things. It either really set off your con experience, so people were either really irritated, or it brought people together where, people were trying to help each other out, lend them coats, or like part of their costume, like if they had a big cape, they would try to put it around some other cosplayers that might not have had much clothing. But yeah, so it was a lot.
It's funny because I feel like I hear a lot of cosplayers who's been around a while talk about that experience. So in a way, it's like a club. Where it's like, were you there that year that KatsuCon had the fire alarm?
I was there, my boy.
When the Fire Nation attacked.
Yeah, it was not lit.
Wow.
Was lit even a thing at that time? I don't think it was.
I don't think so. I don't think people said lit.
No.
Nobody said lit.
No.
People don't say it that much either anymore.
Like people don't say that.
It's funny that happened at KatsuCon on Saturday 3 years ago, and then this year it was hailing outside on Saturday.
Yeah.
So everyone came back into the hotel which was...
It was still nice, though. I won't lie. I was still shooting outside.
Some people did brave the weather.
I went outside.
Speaking of weather, last year was my first year, and
Yep.
you literally couldn't ask for better weather. It was
good
like
for you.
sunny the entire weekend. It was, I remember it very well. It was 70, 80, and 90.
I don't know
that
if I would
weekend.
say sunny the entire weekend. I feel like I remember there was one day, I know, right? But there was still one day where I think it was raining earlier, and then it stopped, and then it just became like wicked, hot and muggy, but like nice out. So
I think it might have been raining on Thursday.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
I think our nicest day this time at Katsu, like this year, was on Thursday, because Thursday was really nice.
Really nice, yeah.
Friday was cold. Saturday was okay until it started hailing, and then Sunday was kind of chilly. But actually, Sunday wasn't that bad.
Yeah. So, like, this year wasn't as good as last year, but I mean, I don't think we'll ever have as good of a year weather-wise as last year. But it was pretty tolerable. We had a little bit of rain in the afternoon of Saturday, which honestly did suck because it forced everybody inside for the most part, and it became really cramped. But overall, the weekend was really good. So weather-wise, not bad. And it's pretty incredible for how lucky we are for the most part, the fact that this is in February when you could just be asking literally for the worst weather of the year.
I suppose so.
Yeah.
But also, I don't do very well in being in like large crowds, and I was wearing one of those like really bulky cosplays that I can't take care of very well if everyone keeps bumping into it. So going into the gazebo area was the worst.
It was a lot.
Oh.
Well, we're talking about Thursday. I want to talk briefly about the pre-registration, because last year the pre-registration, the lines were 3 to 4 hours. It was pretty long. Me personally, I didn't make a big complaint about it because it was Thursday. There's not actually a con per se going on, but it is what it is. And because when I got there, it's not that they were slacking off. They had like a dozen people doing tickets and stuff like that, moving people as fast as they could, and it's just like they just had so many people at pre-registration. So, like, for anyone who hasn't been to KatsuCon, imagine your typical big Comic-Con, so like Boston Comic-Con or just like a really like 20,000 type con with its dealer's room. Imagine that filled with a line of people, and that's what the pre-registration was like that year.
Yep.
It was pretty crazy. It was a sea of people.
Well, and the thing is now, I mean, I know it still says that KatsuCon is a 3-day convention, but this year, I mean, it almost seemed like almost everybody was there by Thursday, so it's almost like this con is turning into a 4-day con.
Yeah.
Without the con actually officially going
and it's
4 days.
it was pretty crazy because me and Alex got there at 7:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
And it was dead because I was showing Alex and Spencer for the Gaylord for the first time, which I was really excited about.
People were already showing up though.
Oh yeah. It just wasn't that a lot of people though. All of a sudden, like around 4 to 5 hits, and literally everybody's here, and I was like, this feels like Friday.
And
it
in
does not feel
cosplay.
like this. Yeah, and in cosplay. Like, half the people were in, like, full-blown cosplay. Like,
I think by 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock, I was in my second cosplay already for that day.
when you have 2 cosplays for day 0 of a con, that's pretty crazy.
It's pretty great, though.
I felt uncomfortable because I went there around, like, noon or like 2 o'clock or something, and people were already in cosplay, and I was still wearing my casuals, and I was like, I feel naked right now. This is not right.
Casual.
I'm at the con. I need to wear something. So I ran back and I like put some stuff.
I just had my Kigu on. That's what I did. That's
enough.
Yeah,
that's a good default.
Yeah,
Kigu, like jeans and a t-shirt is not enough for a con.
Kigu's coming clutch for cosplayers when it comes time to chill, because it feels like you still belong, but you're really comfortable. So, yeah. But pre-registration this year, much faster, despite there being way more people this year. I heard it was only like an hour.
It was really, really fast, honestly.
Yeah, and they had almost the same amount of people in the line, which, like, I don't know if they had more people show up for pre-registration, but there was less of a line at least when I got there.
I got there right when the line started, basically. So that, like, when they were allowing people in, I got in, and it was a...
Yeah, you can get in the line at good times, and it'll be better or worse.
Yeah, it was a fairly long line, but it went really, really quick, and also it was... Like, we didn't have to sit down or have to, like, wait or anything.
Yeah, I heard you guys were basically always moving.
We were moving, like, basically every minute. Every 2 minutes, yeah.
Well, even last year, I mean, that's how the line was, too. You really didn't get a chance to sit down because the line was always moving. It was just so long.
It just never ended. It snaked, like, twice. and just
It
like
snaked through itself. Like, it was,
Yeah, well,
It did.
it snakes one way, which is like a zigzag, and then does it snake like a second time doing the same thing?
the game was sorry the.
Is it like a zipper that's folded over?
the pre-registration line last year was literally like someone played a bad game of Snake. That's what it was.
yeah,
Gotcha.
pretty much.
But we're talking about that. But honestly, like, that's the only possibly negative. Like, it wasn't even a negative this year. Like, I can't think of many negative things to say about this con. Anything involving the now when I say the con, I mean
The actual con.
yes. I have gripes with people attending. That's a totally different story.
Yeah.
So, like, my biggest problem with the entire weekend was Saturday with the weather forcing everybody inside. There's so many people getting photo shoots and video shoots, like, way more than any other convention. And they use every single inch of this convention space. And Saturday afternoon, when everybody was trying to get stuff done, a lot of the videographers and photographers were getting, like, pretty low-key pissed because, like, it was getting really hard to find spaces to shoot. Everybody had schedules they were trying to keep up of. And everybody was also being really bad about spatial awareness. So people were bumping into
very
each
bad.
other. Yeah, and then, like, they were blocking off walkways and people couldn't get to places.
It was just almost like on Saturday, like, the normal, like, con courtesy just kind of, like, disappeared because everybody was just fed up that they had to be squished inside. Because, I mean, normally I love going to cons because, you know, everybody's like, you touch somebody and somebody's like, oh my god, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to bump into you. But I mean, Saturday at KatsuCon was just like, I literally watched my friend, like, we stopped for 2 seconds to say hi to her, and somebody rammed into her back and, like, ripped her belt and, like, didn't even say sorry.
Yikes.
And just kept walking. And I was like, are you kidding me right now? Like, what? And I felt so bad. And it's just, I feel like that kept happening to, like, a lot of people all around that, like, after 2 o'clock on Saturday. It was just like, you didn't even want to be on the floor anymore.
From 2 to 6 Saturday, we just got, I think it just collectively was like, everybody collectively was getting annoyed more and more over the after. It was so weird because it was just like the whole vibe was starting to change that afternoon because of what was going on.
I didn't feel happy at all.
No, I don't think many people were.
Well, I was wearing, like, one of my best cosplays, which is
and
Hiro
that's the thing.
Sugita,
A lot of
which is
people,
a really big one.
A lot of people were doing that on Saturday. That's when you put in your biggest cosplays on, like, Saturday afternoon.
See,
So I do want to say something real quick. And hey,
this is like a neat little cosplay tip because I've actually saw it somewhere else. Another cosplayer recommended it. To plan your cosplays accordingly to when your energy levels are going to start dying down. And I kind of took that into consideration this year a lot because I do some pretty, you know, painful, heavy armor builds that really take a toll on your body. And I did, you know, two costumes on Thursday, and they were simple, just Love Live costumes, same makeup, just to kind of ease me into, like, here we go, here's a con. And then Friday is when I do my biggest build because usually not everybody is doing their biggest build on Friday, and it kind of gives you, like, you know, that punch of being like, oh yeah, I did my biggest costume, I'm ready for this. And Saturday I chose 2 costumes, but I did 2 very simple costumes, you know, ones that I felt comfortable in. And I planned that because I know how KatsuCon normally is. It's usually everybody wears their biggest and most difficult costume on Saturday. So I kind of wanted something easy easy, but I still loved them. They were pretty detailed, but that I could just, you know, calm down and chill in. And then Sunday I chose my easiest, like, kind of most comfortable one.
Because that's when my like, you do the best,
easy, like, you know, that kind of, like, just...
No.
You want to wind down on
but...
Sunday, basically.
Yeah, Sunday is never a day for a big cosplay. I've learned, especially because a lot of people are packing up, is like getting their stuff in their cars, like, not to leave, but, like, they have to get out of their hotel rooms if they have them. And it's just like, especially when the dealer's room and stuff like that closes early on Sunday, depending on the con, that can really be a buzzkill. So, like, KatsuCon, like, is literally not affected by the dealer's room. Like, KatsuCon is one of the cons that isn't affected by the con hours.
I want to say maybe a third to a half of the people who go to Katsu. I don't know if I'm right, but they're the ones who actually go into the convention for the convention itself. Because
you have, like, you have conventions like KatsuCon, Kanenacon, Anime Boston, those aren't really affected by the con hours per se. So when like the dealer's room and stuff like close it down, the con's like still just as lively as ever. However, you've got conventions like Boston Comic Con and Rhode Island Comic Con. When those
shut down and you're like, bye.
Yeah, I know. There's like nothing, and they don't do
There's nothing to do.
Yeah, so it's like really dependent on the con of how detrimental that is. And on Sunday, if you have like a dealer's room that closes at 4, then it's like, well, I guess I'm going to meet up with some friends for dinner outside the con, but effectively your convention time is over mid-afternoon on Sunday, which is kind of like sad because it takes you a little bit longer to get to the con on Sunday in the first place if you're packing up to leave a hotel. So you usually don't get there till like 10 or 11. And so it feels like a half day, even though it's not technically a half day. So
I kind of did something dumb.
Pro tip for Katsu, if any of you listeners ever go, or I always say, stay till Monday. It's so worth it because, I mean, I know it's expensive, but sometimes just staying till Monday because people are still going all Sunday. And there was a huge increase of cosplayers still on Sunday, and just talking to people that you might have missed over the weekend because it's just so packed. I mean, staying till Monday really makes a difference, I feel like, in the whole con experience.
KatsuCon is unrivaled in its activity, I feel like, because I actually had a friend who was there, who was up till 5 a.m. Doing just shenanigans, and he said that there was people in the Gaylord the entire time, like doing stuff, like a good amount of people.
Some people don't sleep.
Yeah.
Some people
crash inside the hotel.
I'm not one of those people.
Yeah, no. I like myself. I'll stay up till like 2 a.m. at the latest, but like because the nice thing about this is that the majority of people don't really show up until 10 or later. So because a lot of people stay up later for this con, but this is probably the only con that's truly technically a 24/7 con throughout the entire weekend.
I mean, some would probably rebuttal and say MagFest, but then there's a lot of people that say MagFest isn't a con; it's a festival.
Yeah, it's a party.
But which is funny that I bring up MagFest because MagFest is essentially in the same exact location as KatsuCon. But to me, I've been to both, and it is a totally different atmosphere. Being in both the con and the center and the atmosphere, there's so much more to do at MagFest than just cosplay. And it's so great to actually spend time in the gaming room because it's huge and the concerts are amazing, like the music, and it truly is like a 24-hour con. There's some people that just don't sleep. Which
I don't know how they do because it takes too much energy to even be at the con, let alone stay up 24/7.
And they market it as 24 hours. Wow. So you have concerts at 1 o'clock, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. It's pretty crazy. A whole different dynamic.
What I really like about KatsuCon's dynamic is that even though it's not pitched that way, it really feels like the cosplayer con. When you're there in the Gaylord, it feels like cosplay utopia. You're just in this magical space with all these amazing people. And the thing that really I still can't get over is that when I would go back to my hotel room at the end of the night and I look at my Instagram feed, all the stories in my feed, it was like 80% people who were actively at KatsuCon. And I try to keep my follower, who I'm following down on the low so I can actually see everybody's content.
See your friends' stuff,
I follow about 300 people, and
Same.
Almost all of it, like 90% of the people that I knew through cosplay was there. And I know a lot of people through cosplay. I knew 80 to 100 people here. It was pretty crazy. And just the fact that everybody was here, no other con brings all these different sub-circles of my cosplay friends in this one place, KatsuCon. And it's really, it's amazing because it's really the first big con to kick off the year for cosplay. I mean, isn't MagFest technically before?
No, because MagFest isn't about cosplay. It's really not. There's gonna be an influx of people that go to MagFest that are primarily cosplayers only because of how crowded KatsuCon is.
It's true.
Which is sad because I feel like you really need to experience MagFest for what it is rather than just going to get, free photography space instead of going to KatsuCon. But unfortunately, I do think that's what's going to happen. So you'll probably see quite an influx of people for MagFest next year and the year after that because of how crowded Katsu is.
Absolutely. So to wrap it up, how about we just talk about like one of our favorite highlights that's related to the convention itself for Katsucon. Like for me, I already know mine, which is the fact that while I was in Present Mic, the Present Mic voice actor stopped me for a photo. And it was so funny because people who don't know who Present Mic is a character from My Hero Academia. If for whatever reason you don't watch that show, but he's this
Shame
guy.
on you.
Yeah, he's this guy who's got a superpower, who's basically like the best announcer because he's got like a supersonic voice basically, and he's like super obnoxious, extroverted, which is basically me. So that's why I cosplayed him. But anyways, I get this like tap on the shoulder, and I hear like Present Mic, and then I turn around. He's like, "Hi, I actually do the voice for your character." And I just didn't. So it was Sony Straight to be specifically. It wasn't the Japanese voice actor. It was the American voice actor.
See, I haven't watched the English dub, unfortunately, but I've watched the Japanese. So.
But yeah, it's really cool. And Sony Straight actually does a lot of voice actors. He does Maze Hughes from Brotherhood.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and then he also does.
I didn't know they were the same.
Sorry.
I didn't know they were the same voice actor. That's
yeah,
cool.
And he also does Kiro Sensei from Assassination Classroom, which is also one of my favorite characters.
I didn't know they had an English dub for that either.
He's so funny. But yeah, so he voices a lot of characters from Dragon Ball. So there's also that for people who are really into Dragon Ball. But yeah, he's a really cool voice actor, and he stopped me for a photo, and he was absolutely nothing like the character that I thought he was. It was really funny. But that was a really cool, because that was the first time I've met my voice actors that I cosplay, but not also while being in said cosplay. This was the first time where those both matched up, and it was super cool. So that was my. What about you, Alex? What was like your favorite like con related highlight?
I think mine was, I want to say it was meeting all the people who I've like been following for a while on Instagram. It's like,
so good.
I really wanted to meet so many people, and it's weird because you have an idea about them, like, oh, they're like this or like this or this, and then you meet them and they're regular people, normal people, and I think that was pretty cool. And also one of the things that I found really interesting is that sometimes you'll see someone who like you've seen on the internet, but you're like, yeah, sure, the person's cool. But then you actually meet them at the con, and you, for some reason, you hang out with them and a bunch of other people in a group, and you're like, I actually think this person's really cool. You're my friend now. Yeah, no going back.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah.
Yeah, like that's one of the weird things about cons, honestly, and cosplay is like I meet people and I'm like, oh, okay, they're pretty cool. And then down the road, we're like really close friends, and it's crazy. I don't know where that comes from or how it works, but it happens. That's, I think that comes with going to cons and cosplaying in general. The Gaylord was a pretty cool hotel, not gonna lie. Yeah, I was like, I think I really liked. I like pretty much every con I go to, I cosplay from Ruby. And every single time the Ruby cosplayers do not disappoint. They're always so open and friendly, and
one of my favorite cosplay communities is the Ruby cosplay community. They're
always really excited to see you. Like if another person comes into the photo shoot, they're just like, yay, even though there's like 20 of that character. They still get excited. Like I was on Friday, I was cosplaying Jean Arc, and I was walking, and the level above me where the gazebo is, on the corner, there was a bunch of Ruby cosplayers. So they were looking over the railing, and then they saw me as Jean, and they just start screaming. They're like, Jean, get up here, hang out with us. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I went up there, and there's an entire crowd, and we just all bonded. I had to dance off with another Jean. It was great.
Yeah.
What about you, Nick? What was some of your favorite con-related highlights?
This year, it was definitely getting to work with people like from all over the world. It was pretty crazy this year. I met people from Ireland, France. I met somebody from the Netherlands.
That's so cool.
It was really crazy. And I mean, before Katsu, I was really excited because this videographer, photographer, Velvet Art, she approached me after I had put up my lineup, and I mean I was just shocked because her work is stunning, and she was from the Netherlands, and they were flying over, and it was like 24-hour flight to get here, and I mean it's just crazy. And I think the highlight was definitely working with her on Sunday in my Nero Claudius bride outfit, and it was just it just takes me back because I'm like, wow, you know, this con is allowing me to meet somebody like thousands and thousands of miles away, and it just like really makes me step back for a second and just like appreciate, you know, all that cons and conventions and cosplaying has like allowed me to do or like achieve. And it
it's just one of those moments that just makes you really just be like, wow, this is my life right now.
I mean, besides that, the other big highlight was getting my group together on Friday and doing my fantasy love life sunshine armor.
Nice.
Because
that
last
looks so
year,
good.
as a lot of people know, I did Warrior Honoka with
a small group.
A lot of people dropped out last year, but this year we had 8 of the girls out of the 9, and it was really amazing. I mean, sadly, we didn't get to spend enough time together on the floor, just kind of coagulating together because we had a photo shoot, and I wanted to make sure we got, you know, group photos for sure. But they all did such an amazing job, and it was so great to like collaborate with such a big group of people, and you know, they were all so excited, and I was excited, and it was just so great, you know, bonding over a show so much that, you know, you're working on this costume for 2, 3, 4 months, and you finally get it together, and you're all together, and it's so great.
That's really awesome. Yeah. Katsucon just has so many of those moments that just makes you just like, yes, this is what I cosplay for. Like, one of the amazing things about Katsucon is that being in my second year, I was so hyped for it, and I was worried I was overhyping, and like I was sure I was overhyping it. I was going to be disappointed because that happens way too much with cons. Yet I was still not hyped enough for this con. Like after it was done, I was like, I still wasn't prepared for how amazing that was. Like I don't think I could say that about any other convention, honestly.
See, I mean, I was really glad that everything happened, and it was exciting, but I feel like, I mean, it was your second year, and it's only my third year, but there are some people who have been going longer than that, and it's really lost a little bit of its, you know, glitz and glam, just because of how many people are going sometimes. It can get a little overwhelming, because when some people think about cosplay, it's not all about getting attention or, you know, that kind of thing. It's just having fun with your friends and, like, loving what you're doing and spending time with them. So for those people, I feel like it was just too much. Like, the crowd was too much. So it left a little bit of a sour taste in their mouth this year. I feel like for me, it was both. Like, I mean, I really liked it. I really loved spending the time, but I feel like I liked spending the time because of the people, not the actual con. Like, the location for me is great, but I feel like it's not what makes the con for me. It's the experiences with the people.
Oh, yeah.
And spending time with, like, them and everything. You know what I mean? So sometimes when it got too overcrowded, I was like, why am I here? This is too much. I can't even find my friends because everybody's so busy. Like, it kind of got to that point at some points.
And I think that, like, I think it's a good point to end on, being the fact that what I enjoyed Katsucon the most was Sunday, when I made no plans. I made no plans Sunday, and I just let the con do whatever the con wants around me and my friends, and just doing impromptu stuff. And it was the best. It really was. And I think that it's really easy to overplan Katsucon because it's such a big event and
you want to make the most of it. Yeah, you really do. You want to make sure that you're working with everybody you want to work with, and you're getting everything you want to get done, and it kind of takes over you a little bit.
But I think in the future I'm going to be a little bit more like, I'm going to plan a few very important things, like a few meaningful things, but not worrying about planning every single, like, I'm going to have a lot of time planned where I don't plan anything, you know? I'm going to have like a few things I want to do each day, but for the most part, just try to leave it as open as possible, because that's when I enjoyed it the most, you know? Saturday became frustrating for people because everybody made plans, you know? So yeah.
Saturday was a really rough day for me.
It
not
was.
Gonna lie.
Like, yeah, I'm sure that's why Sunday was so great, because it really redeemed all that frustration from the previous day.
Well, I was kind of an idiot on Sunday because I wore the same cosplay that I did on Saturday, but I think I enjoyed it a lot more just because it wasn't as busy outside, and
that you could actually go outside. It makes a huge difference. Basically. It really does.
Yeah. So I enjoyed that.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that wraps up as much as we can about Katsu, because we could talk about Katsucon forever. But yeah, so we're gonna have a little segment here, and I'd like to talk about our sponsor for this episode being Hero Hair. Are you looking to take your cosplay to the next level? Well, these people, run by motion picture and Broadway stage professionals, Hero Hair is the only custom wig company that uses their expertise in the industry to bring your screen-accurate wigs for cosplay. Hero Hair goes the extra mile to provide you wigs that are custom-made just for you, with the most advanced cutting-edge design applications, methodologies, and materials only found in the professional motion picture and television industries. But they are not done there. Hero Hair provides client support both before and after the wig build, and is committed to providing service to you for the entire wig's lifetime. We don't just build our wigs, we crew them for life. Go to herohair.com to see all the services they provide and how you can #CrownYourCosplay. I'd also like to take a moment to talk about one of Hero Hair's clients, Victoria, otherwise known as Wonder Woman is Real. She works with, she owns 5 wigs from Hero Hair, including the amazing wig you see for her perfect Wonder Woman cosplay. Victoria is not only an amazing cosplayer, but she's an amazing person as well, as she dedicates her time in court as a lawyer to help defend kids with disabilities. I don't know about you, but that sounds like a real superhero to me. Thank you, Victoria, for everything that you do both in and outside the cosplay community, and be sure to check her out on Instagram at Wonder Woman is Real. Seriously though, these guys' wigs, I'm talking off script here, these people's wigs are insane. I tried to get an interview with one of them at Katsucon. It didn't happen, unfortunately. It's hard to find people at Katsucon impromptuly, but I'll be setting up interviews in the future with these clients so that they can tell you firsthand how amazing they are. But these people's wigs are literally perfection. Like I did see one of their clients at the con. I didn't realize it was at the time, but there was a Last of Us couple, and their hairs, because especially their wigs, they were like disheveled, and they were just like, because they're in the apocalypse, stuff like that. They nailed that. Like, I don't even know what they did right, but they did it all right. Like,
when you're able to style a disheveled wig, you're doing something right. Like if it looks good.
Yeah, and seriously, their wigs are so amazing, and I've talked a lot with Travis there, the guy for Hero Hair, and their customer service is truly special, and they are more than just giving you the product. They're about really improving your experience in cosplay, and seriously, they're a blast to talk to, and highly recommend at least checking them out. And yeah, any of their clients will tell you how amazing they are. So yeah.
Where are they located?
They are located in New York.
Oh, awesome! So they're not that far away.
No, not at all. Real quick, we would like to give you a cosplay tip. If you, like Alex, loves to make armor all the time, you'll find that you need to have like rivets or buttons a lot. And usually, like, one of the things I love about cosplay is that we find really random stuff to make things work that you would never like realize.
Just paint over it, you'll be fine.
And this one's a more common tip, mind you, but there's still people that don't know about this. There's the solution that everybody goes to for rivets and armor is googly eyes, of all things. And it's so funny.
Googly eyes from the craft store. You've
got this piece right here. This is Alex. You'll see it right there on the rivet. That's just a big old googly eye right there.
All you have to do is paint over it. You'll find.
Yeah, and it works. It's so funny how well it works.
Yes. The only thing is though like because it's a googly eye, it is gonna rattle when you move around. So something that one of our friends, I think it was one of our friends said, she poked a hole in the back and then filled it with, I think, super glue, because you're not going to see anything outside of the covered part. So you just put it in there, and then it'll stop rattling. So that's not going to like bother you the entire time you're going around. So if you have a lot of them on,
if you're that picky,
if you're that picky, it's going to be loud at the con, but still, like,
Yeah, I don't think you'd even hear it. No. I know I use googly eyes on some of my armor for Katsu.
And it's
pretty hilarious before you prime it.
It is. I'm like, it is. This looks terrifying.
Your armor's just like staring at you with like 10 eyes, like, hello.
So paint over this as fast
and
as
it's so great because they come in so many sizes and they're dirt cheap. Like,
I
have more googly eyes than I know what to do with, because you can't buy 10 of them. You can buy 100 of them for like $1. So, so yeah, get yourself some googly eyes, because you'll find some good uses for them regardless.
It's nice details.
Yeah, it really is. Next, we would like to talk about, this isn't really excitement, rather just something we want to bring up, which is a recent research of Vero. For those who don't know, Vero is a new social network platform that's very Instagram-esque. It came out, I don't even know how long. I want to say like 8 months ago or something like that.
I only just found out about it in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's still in beta, and their goal is to provide Instagram-like experience while also providing things like videos and links and other options for posting. For now, they're maintaining the most recent algorithm, which people love, which Instagram has been taking away more and more. And it's very aesthetic, like it's very pretty. They do this thing where they whatever post you're on, they'll take that post and like add like a bokeh/blur effect in the background, so the colors in the background is always kind of like low-key matching what you're looking at. It's really pretty. You just got to see it for yourself. But what makes Vero interesting is that Vero is trying to do something that no other social network has tried to do before, was just try to get people to pay for their service. And how they're trying to do that is that because there's two ways to make money when it comes to these kinds of sites, is that you either have advertising or they just pay you straight up for a subscription. Nobody wants to pay for a subscription because there's too many free options. But people also not a big fan of ads, but like that's just people. People are not going to be happy either way. So what Vero is trying to do, because you currently don't pay for Vero, what Vero is saying is that they're waiting until they get to 1 million users, and once they get to 1 million users, then they're going to start charging, which makes sense because you have to have a platform that people are going to want to be on before you start charging it. So they're trying to get everyone hooked on it, and once it switches over to the paid platform, hopefully, well, this is what they're saying, hopefully people switch over because they see the value in it, But this also means no ads, so there is benefits to it, to having it, and they haven't said, as far as I know, they haven't said anything about the pricing, but the reason why we're bringing it up here is because even though this has been around for quite a few months now, in fact, I've been on it for a few months. I was active on it just to have one, and I was active for like 2 weeks and didn't touch it.
Yeah, me too. I found it randomly, and I was like, oh, I'll try, and like nobody was talking about it, so I was like, meh, I very minimal followers and really just connections with friends.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I don't even know how it started, but the cosplay community just embraced so much so that if you went to the homepage of Vero, cosplay was the number 2 trending hashtag for several days. It could still be on trending right now for all I would know. And when I mean the cosplay community hit, I mean like all of cosplayers bought an account on this site. Like it was on everybody's stories, hashtag. It was on everybody's posts. It was nuts.
Yeah, it was mostly on their stories. I was seeing them, like, it was all over their stories, and basically what they were saying was, like, don't really know about this. I might as well try it out.
Yeah.
Hit me up on here. I was like, another app to do. I'm probably not gonna use it, honestly. I feel like I'm not able to do enough social media. Oh, that's fine.
Go ahead.
There was a lot of cosplayers with bigger followings, so I feel like that drove a lot of traffic and a controversial. Lewds are allowed there, so some bigger cosplayers can post them there and not really be afraid of like Instagram's terms of service taking them down yet. So it drove a lot of traffic.
Yeah. Then people also I think one of the things that really hit for the cosplay community was the algorithm being because when me and you, Nick, first joined, this was before Instagram did second algorithm change. The first change wasn't too bad. It was just basically playing a little bit of favoritism here and there. But now they basically are almost matching Facebook's algorithm.
Yeah, that's what I hated about Facebook.
A week ago, and it drives me crazy. I'm like, I already saw this. It's from Katsukan. I'm like, I want to see what my friends are posting now, not a week ago. Like come on.
What's wrong with most recent? Seriously,
I know.
Why do you want me to see more?
And it's buried, but on Facebook you can look at most recent. You can sort it by most recent. On Instagram, I don't think there is that option.
I think on Facebook, they did allow you to go back to most recent, but then it would just change back, and it's
that's the thing. They make it purposely as hard as possible because you can look at most recent, but you have to click that option every single time. It's not
so stupid.
Yep, because they don't want you to look at
that. Why? They're trying to dictate my life. I don't like this. Okay, Facebook is about people having their personal face online on the Facebook.
But yeah, so this will be interesting to see. I think regardless of if Vero is successful in turning over its users once it's paid or not. It's a very important value information for social media networks as a whole, because if it works, then it changes the game entirely of, hey, maybe we should try a subscription platform. And if it doesn't, then the likelihood of social media ever being without ads is going to be cemented for a very long time, because this is the biggest effort we've seen in a long time to do something different. So, and it's the most legitimate effort. And I honestly wish them the best, because we need more competition. Facebook owns Facebook and Instagram, and Facebook has the biggest user count, and Instagram is the hottest social network right now. So they don't have anything to worry about right now. So honestly, I would like Vero to be at least semi-successful, to knock on Instagram's door being like, hey, what's up? Yeah. So, yeah, any other thoughts on that, Nick?
I mean, same thing. I mean, I just hope it kicks off. I mean, I know a few people today, yesterday, and I think a little bit Friday night maybe, were noticing downtime. So things weren't even loading on Vero.
Yeah, I heard that too.
So I'm curious if that's because of this influx of content that's being uploaded. Because sometimes, there's these servers, and whoever made the app may only allot for a certain amount of bandwidth for it. And I'm curious if that's maybe why it slowed down, if this is hitting the 1 million or something like that.
And they haven't really told us how close we are to that point, but I would imagine that basically the entire cosplay community jumping on definitely put that needle a lot closer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I wonder if, it's just this guy that was bored. I mean, it literally is like this millionaire that just wanted to make an app, and it's like, what if he just forgot about it?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think, what if he just made this app and now he's like, oh crap, I actually have users.
It is so hard to make a successful social platform. It's harder than making a successful social platform is harder than purposely making a viral video. Oh
yeah.
It's the odds of a video being viral is say 1 in a million. The odds of making a successful social network is 1 in a billion. It's just so few. It's not that there's not any newcomers. It's just it's so hard to get things to take.
Yeah. People don't like to change, which is funny because we're always rooting for change, but as soon as something does change, they're like, no, don't change it. I'm not used to this. Snapchat, for example, they changed their interface, and so many people were crying about it. It's we're a funny generation, I swear.
Crying over apps now.
Yep.
Wow.
All right, so we'll see how that turns out. But now we're going to talk about the last thing that we're going to touch on today, which is cosplay elitism. And there's a lot of controversy around this topic. And I'd like to start off this segment by playing you some clips from some interviews that I took at Katsucon. I will be posting the full interviews of all these people in a separate video on our YouTube channel, so feel free to check that out after the episode if you like some of the stuff that you heard. I'm just curious of what the entire thoughts are and who they are as cosplayers in general. But so for this first clip here, I just we were talking about things that really annoy them about people who have an influence on the community and the negative stuff that comes out from some of them. So I'm going to play that real quick.
I just hate the elitist part of the cosplay community because cosplay's for everybody. Everybody can cosplay. And I think that's the biggest thing.
Ego. I can't stand people who think that their business doesn't stink because they're famous, and it really degrades the cosplay community because it makes people who want to cosplay not want to do it, because then they say, oh, well, I'm not good as this person, and that's not right.
Doing it just for likes or for attention, that I don't know. I don't think that's. I think that's popular trends. I think just general body negativity. I guess because everyone wants to cosplay. Yeah, you gotta be comfortable. I think when people go in public and they're not comfortable with what they're wearing, it doesn't matter. This is just free zone. You should be able to wear whatever you want.
People that try to be too perfect or work too hard just to make the point cosplay.
then they say, oh, everyone's like that.
To me, cosplay is not only about being yourself, but also becoming someone else. And anybody should be able to do that. And everybody should be able to enjoy it. So when you see a cosplayer have a big community, but then they go, well, except for you, that's kind of just like a gut punch, because it's like, it shouldn't be except anyone, it should be everyone.
So yeah, thank you to all the cosplayers who dropped in some opinions for us. Nick, you still with us?
Yeah, sorry, it's
Okay.
been cutting out.
Okay, that's okay. Yeah, so thank you to all the cosplayers who stopped to take the time to interview with me. We'll hear just a little bit more from some of them at the end of the segment. And then, like I said, you can listen to the full interviews on a separate video on our YouTube channel after the episode. But yeah, I really liked, we had a lot of diverse answers there. We had some people talking about ego. We had some people talking about being too focused on like perfectionism. We had one person talk about how they can use their influence to have very opinionated views and force that onto other people and make them feel bad about not feeling the same way. Some people who make it seem like cosplay is not available to anybody. Like,
Yeah.
So sad.
Yeah. And yeah, there's like a lot of stuff like that. There are people talking that just like thinking, it was like it hurts to know that the people that have like an influence on the community can be responsible for some of the worst, you know. And it sucks because we're the ones that made them like influencers, you know.
I feel like the people who I've met who are like more popular, they are definitely very encouraging to new cosplayers, and like, you know, they want to see them succeed. I don't know if I've probably met a couple of people who felt the way that you're thinking right now, is like they think that they're the better cosplayer because you know, they have more followers, or like they might have done more work on their piece, but like I haven't seen people who are actively vocal like that. But yeah, like the people I've met who are like really high-end cosplayers, I think they've been fine for the most part.
Yeah. What's your experience with any like negative experiences with people and the influence in the cosplay, Nick?
Sorry, I mildly heard some of what you guys said just because of how blocky it is now. So you're asking like negativity that I've experienced?
Yeah, like what's some of the negative stuff that you've seen from some of the people who have influence in the cosplay community?
Well, so I have opinions about, you know, cosplay elitism, and do I believe that it exists? Yes, in a certain sense, I do. But I also feel like a lot of this elitism is put on these more larger cosplayers by their fans and by their followers, because these fans and followers expect a certain attitude, look, appearance every time they see them in person. And to a degree, yes, I think that, you know, these larger cosplayers should upheld them and be like kind, but you can't expect somebody to always be their prime and be in their prime time. Okay, you know, they're people too. And I feel like sometimes we forget that. So if you have one bad experience with a popular cosplayer, you automatically think, wow, they're an elitist, they're just full of themselves. And I don't think that's true, because I feel like a lot of it comes within the person themselves. If they're calling somebody an elitist, like, it really makes me step back and think, like, well, why are they calling them that? Was it one occurrence? Was it a history of occurrences? You know, because there's some popular cosplayers out there that don't have the best track record, I'll say. But that's after a history, not just one isolated event that then snowballs into rumors, or in this day and age, quote unquote dragging somebody, which is a bad culture that is starting to happen more and more throughout our community. That's kind of how I feel about that whole, you know, elitist cosplayer thing. because I've I don't know. Do you guys know what I'm saying?
I kinda get it.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Well, going back to the fans putting on that, basically having this idea of what the person is like, and then all those fans interacting with that person might inadvertently start to act that way, possibly.
Yeah.
Or, like, the elitism actually comes from the fans. So, like, they might say, oh, this person's like this or like that, or, like, look at their cosplay, it's absolutely amazing, and they might, a lot of fans might actually glorify the person that they're a fan of, and then trash someone else by being like, oh, yours isn't as good as this one.
Right.
And that is not what the high-end cosplayer wants at all.
It's sad because I've been told, you know, oh, your face doesn't look right as this character, or, I mean, you know, just silly things, and I honestly just usually delete them, because it's not worth it.
Yeah.
It's very difficult.
Yeah, unfortunately, some people are those kinds of people that dwell on those things, but you really just can't, because obviously there's something wrong in that person's life that they have to spread negativity. It's kind of where I go from it.
Trust me, it's very difficult to have a face like a perfect anime character, okay? Having big eyes like that is not natural, okay? I'm just saying.
I know, right?
I don't think it's healthy
my face
either.
isn't perfectly pointy, and I don't have the pointiest jaw.
Right. Excuse me for not having purple eyes, naturally.
I do want to preface, though, something very interesting about these interviews that I took is that I tried to get a nice variety of cosplayers from different communities and different ages and genders, and yet despite everyone being different, there was a pretty clear message, because all the stuff that you heard, because I was expecting to get this sound clip when I was doing these interviews, it went differently than I thought it would, because one of the things that I brought up is that what is some of the first things that you think of when you hear the name Jessica Nigri? And I use her only as an example because she's one of the biggest cosplayers in the community. However, she's one of the more controversial ones. Me personally, I think she's an amazing cosplayer. She has a lot of talent. She, unlike what some people think, actually makes her cosplays. Jessica Nigri.
Okay, sorry, I missed your name.
And she makes all of her stuff, and she is...
So, yes, she does make her stuff when she makes it, but there are a lot of people who actually offer her things, so...
That's true, yes.
She credits them.
Yes, she always gives credit.
A lot of people do make stuff for her, and she'll wear it as part of her costumes, but for the most part, yes, she does make her
and
costumes.
especially the most impressive ones, like the one she brought to CatsuCon last year. She
her
made
dragons,
that. And that's some really impressive stuff, and I've watched the tutorial of her make it, and it's pretty crazy seeing all the stuff that she does.
It's amazing. It helped me so much in my build this year for Katsu.
But I was expecting at least one or two people to have at least a certain standpoint on Jessica Nigri, but literally every person that I talked to when I mentioned her, whether they knew her very well or they only knew about her, all had a positive outlook on her. The most uncertain one was yeah, I honestly don't know a lot about Jessica Nigri, but I know that she gets a lot of crap, but she actually deserves a lot more credit than she actually gets, And I was like, wow, that's really cool that even though you don't know her a lot, you know enough to know that she's misrepresented, And I think that's really cool. And then I think it started to occur to me as I was doing these interviews. I'm I've thought all this time that, there's some portion of cosplayers that's hitting on Jessica Nigri. But after doing this, I'm really starting to think that it's really the people who aren't cosplaying where she's getting
just the internet trolls, you know, I don't like to be involved in drama, but I like to kind of watch it from afar, right? So I kind of I look up and I read these poll threads and or subreddits and stuff like that, and the amount of slashing these people do, and I'm have you even met her? I feel they're all just internet trolls that never actually meet her or get out of the house. They just want to trash on people.
I've only heard one story of someone who didn't like her who met her in person, and that was a fault of their own and not Jessica Nigri's. They treated her poorly, and they got a poor response. So it's what do you do? You treat someone horribly, they might not be they're not may not be guaranteed to respond to you in the kindest way, you know. So
I mean, I had a friend too that didn't really have a good impression of her because of one meeting when the fire alarm went off, which is ironic, and it was just one meeting, you know. And I'm like, maybe she wasn't there. Like, we all know how the katsu like crunch and how the katsu vibe kind of like stresses you out, and then having the fire alarm go off, like all your shoots are delayed and all your like, and she kind of like judged her based on that one interaction. And I feel like, and I even told her, I was like, well, you know, she's been really nice to me every time I've met her. I really think it was situational, not just that she is always like that kind of thing. And she rethought it and was like, maybe, but I feel like that always happens, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. We all have our moments where we're just like, either our mind is somewhere else, or we're really focused on something that's stressing us out, you know? Or like something's like in the process. So like, for instance, say that a piece of your cosplay just broke, and you're like focused on like, where's the cosplay repair? Like, what do I do to fix this? And then all of a sudden someone comes up to you and is like, hey, I want to talk to you, but you're just so focused on like solving this problem from having like a minor breakdown that you're probably not going to have the best reaction to someone. Like, you'll try to hold yourself together, but nobody's perfect.
You feel awful.
Yeah.
Well, I think
because like legitimately, I've been there, and it feels awful, and then you're worrying about it. 2 hours later, you're like, oh my god, I must have given that person so much attitude, but like my costume is literally falling off, or you know, I have something in my eye. Like, I've had that. I've had like something lodged in my eye, and a photographer's trying to ask me to pose, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I have to go. Like, I can't do this right now. Like, there's something stabbing my eye. Like, and you feel awful.
Yeah, your contact like starts freaking out on you, you know?
Yeah.
I've had that happen. Ugh.
I think one of the misconceptions about people who are meeting other cosplayers, like maybe they've seen them online and they're a fan of their work or something. I think a misconception is that you are going to say hi, get a picture with them, and then become best friends, or like just hit it off right away. And honestly, that doesn't always happen. Like, if like first, like, you might interact with someone and you find out that you really enjoy actually talking to them, not just talking about cosplay, but people might be like, oh, well, I talked to this person for 5 minutes and then they left me. Like, what the heck? Well, I thought they'd be nicer than that. That's not the point. It's not. I
think the thing about the cosplay community, there's like two sides of this that I'm really learning, is that one, the cosplay community is amazing because of how accepting and open and friendly everyone is, but that's a double-edged sword, because then everybody has higher expectations, especially of the people that they aspire to be like. And then just the whole thing, like I said before, with the people outside of the cosplay community, like when it's a lot of online interaction, almost misrepresenting the cosplay community when they're not really, quote unquote, in the community.
Yeah. They
enjoy cosplay, but they're not a cosplayer. And I feel like those people can speak differently from their experiences, you know. It makes me a little bit happy though, knowing that I know a little bit better about the source, about where this is coming from now, and it's not, for the most part at least, coming from the cosplay community itself, because everybody that had to talk about, when we heard the bits about people talking about the stuff that they hate, that was when I asked them straight up, what are some things that you hate to see in cosplayers? Like, I had to straight up ask them, what are the things that they hate? They would not talk about anything negative when I brought up cosplay elitism or cosplayers like Jessica Negri or other popular ones. It was only when I directly asked them, what do you not want to see? And from what I can understand, these are experiences that are far and few between. They happen, and they're extremely annoying and disappointing because we have a higher standard for the people in our community because it is so great. But then on the flip side, like, these negative things that happen, they just don't happen as much. But when they do happen, it's pretty bad, you know? So, but honestly, I have like a little, like, not that I had like any like worry about the community. I had a little bit of like faith restored in the communities. Like, I like that everybody's head, like, whether the really serious ones and the really casual ones, everyone's head seems to be on pretty straight about the whole situation about cosplay elitism, and that made me happy, you know. Just like people, I mentioned it in one of our episodes of Inconceivable, but watch Jessica Negri's documentary on roosterteeth.com. That was something to watch. It was really amazing to see how someone like Jessica Negri literally goes through the same stuff that us as everyday cosplayers go through. And like, I know this is really hard for her, but she didn't do the cosplay that she wanted to do for BlizzCon in the documentary. She had to stop and try something else. And I'm sure that was very hard, especially for someone like her who is so used to pushing and just overcoming anything, and then actually had to say no once. But
well, twice if you think about it, because she didn't come to Katsucon.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. But at least in the documentary itself, we see that happen firsthand. But yeah, just the fact that she's just like everyone else, and it was very humbling when you like had to take a step back and be like, you can't put these people on a higher pedestal just because they're popular.
Right.
So
that's something I noticed a lot with the Katsu Crunch, as it's called.
Yes.
A lot of people had to, basically take a step back and say, you know what, I can't finish this cosplay because I have to take care of my health.
Yeah.
And if I want to get to KatsuCon, I need to be all there. And that really sucks. But honestly, I was very proud of the people who were able to actually take the moment and be like, you know what, I can't do this. I need to take care of myself first. That's pretty inspiring too, because that's one of the hardest things a cosplayer can do is say I can't get this done in time. Otherwise I'll trash it. I'll make it look crappy. So I'm just gonna put it away to the side. I wanted it to be at this con, but it just won't happen.
Yeah. I do think that it is nice to see people especially KatsuCon was a great example for this topic, because we saw a lot of people that we follow on Instagram, and we have oh, I really like this person. They're really good at cosplays. And 9 times out of 10, they're really lovely people. I don't know many other communities where the popular people are so accessible. And it's amazing because that takes such amount of effort to do. It's not that easy being that accessible, and that just have to be on the ball all the time because you have so many people who look up to you. I don't know what that's like, but I know that I understand how amazingly hard it must be.
I mean, I had some people that knew me from my handle, and I don't have a huge follower count, but
I did have a few people, and I just there is a funny side to that too, because it's hard because I'm such an introverted person that I love meeting new people, but I don't know how to act when I meet new people. So when people know who I am and I have no idea who they are, it's I really appreciate it. I do. It makes me so happy, but I don't know how to act. And I feel so bad that I'm just this awkward person that's hi, and freeze frames you. And it's
well, people say
they're so nice, but I'm I hope I don't leave a bad impression.
Yeah.
People will say oh, I'm a big fan of your work, and you're just thank you.
I know.
How's it going?
And I don't know. And you just kind of awkwardly stand there, and you're
yeah.
So you liking your con?
Yeah, no, I do that.
Enjoying yourself?
I do that a lot, where it won't be people coming up because they recognize me as a cosplayer. They recognize my cosplay, and we'll talk for a little bit. But you just you have to, and I think that a lot of people who I don't know on a daily basis, but who know me through conventions and will see me occasionally through conventions and seeing me, is because I take the time to be courteous. It's hey, we're cosplayers. Let's have a minute to talk and just shoot the crap. So yeah, and I like that. That's the norm for the cosplay community. Is that, like you said, it was pretty frustrating to see a Saturday at KatsuCon when everybody was getting a little bit pissy, and you just felt like we were losing a little bit of that courtesy that we're so used to seeing cosplayers. And yeah, because that's just how it is. We just have a certain amount of respect that we have for cosplayers, each other, and I think it's really special and something that really continues to amaze me about the cosplay community.
Most cosplayers basically get it when they're around other cosplayers. We have a connection. We know how cosplaying works. But people who either don't cosplay or just going to a con and seeing cosplayers, I think they don't really understand, especially people who will just take pictures of you without asking. Like they'll just be walking by and then take a snapshot. And yeah, that was one of the things that surprised me at KetsuCon, was that some people actually did that. I was like, oh, seriously? I didn't realize that people like you came here. But okay.
Yeah. Awesome. So what's your final thoughts about what are some of the biggest things that you look forward to seeing in someone who has an influence on the community? Let's start with you, Nick. What's some of the biggest things that you look forward to someone that has an influence on the community?
I mean, for the most part, they pretty much, all the ones I followed do just a good job. I mean, it's pretty much just like, I think not being too negative. I mean, we all have our downs, but when you're negative on a social platform or just like too negative all the time, it really just rubs off on people, you know?
Absolutely, yeah. So, like, maintaining that friendliness is super important. We had someone, I don't know if it was in the segment that we listened to, but in the interview, someone mentioned that someone was mean to somebody online, and then they'll respond in a mean way, and then they'll take that out of context and be like, label them as a mean person, you know, like.
Yeah, because I mean, like, you never want to respond to like hate stuff like too poorly or start attacking them, because of course it hurts, like it all hurts, but keeping, like, you have to realize that there are a ton of people looking at what you say and what you do, and you may not be a mean person, but just because that one thing bothered you and you know, said some not so nice things back, that can come back to haunt you. And you just really have to be aware of your social presence everywhere. Like, you know what I mean? It is a little scary, but you do.
Yeah, it's such a big part of, well, like, the responsibilities that you have, you know, as your presence online. What about you, Alex? Anything else that we haven't talked about that you really like to see in these people?
I want to, like, again, it's being positive, but also I really enjoy seeing the higher end cosplayers just encouraging people who are starting out, or even people who are like just having a really hard time with cosplay, or just wondering if they really want to keep doing it or not, or they're like the people who are getting a lot of heat on their cosplay because it's not the absolute best. And I love it when I see or hear about like the really famous cosplayers going out of their way to go and to encourage and help the people who are their fans, basically. I think that's really cool. And like, here's the thing: everyone has an influence, but high-end cosplayers, they have a bigger reach.
They
basically
set the tone.
So they're able to be not just someone who somebody can be a fan of, but they can also act as a role model in some way. So I like to see them doing that in the best way possible.
Well said. So I'd like to close out this segment. I compiled a little bit of just like we talked about. I'd like to play a little segment that I have where we talked about just what we just said right there, which is the positives that we see from the people. So I'll play that real quick.
We're a community, so we're all supposed we should be able to help each other and get advice from one another. So that's what I would really love to see in cosplayers in general, is the willingness to help.
As long as they're having fun, as long as they like what they're wearing and they're having fun, that's pretty much it. Yeah, it's pretty much like a hobby thing. If you do it competitively, that's good, but like, as long as you're having fun, whether it's competitively or just to like go to a con and hang out or what, just as long as you're doing what you love, just having fun.
Oh, friendliness for the fans. If their fans are cool to you, and your fans look up to you, and you know, and they see you as a positive person, I think the best thing that you can do is try to shed a positive light on cosplay, and not like, you know, not just like say that, you know, there are certain cosplayers that are famous that are like, oh, only you can do this certain cosplay. No, that's not right. Cosplay is for everybody.
Cosplay community is like a big family, really. Yeah, there's differences all over the place, but the main thing is like, just be kind to people and then return the favors. Right? Is that good to be nice? You like being nice? Yeah, see?
We're going to close it off with that. Thank you so much for joining us for our debut episode of Coscast. We look forward to doing this more in the future. And yeah, it's been good.
Good first episode.
Absolutely. So thank you for joining us. We'll see you sometime beginning of next month. So look forward to that. Thank you for having us. You guys want to say bye?
Bye. Thank you again.
Bye.
And remember, stay kind, geeks.